I'm going to talk to you about paper piecing today. Woohoo! Yay for paper piecing. All right, my friends, those of you who have done paper piecing, do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you somewhere in between? If you've ever not liked it, I want to know why. What are the reasons why? There are lots of reasons why you might get frustrated with paper piecing, and I hope today that I can debunk some of those myths and some of those things that are holding you back from doing paper piecing, which is actually a lot of fun. And when I'm talking about paper piecing today, I'm talking about doing it on the sewing machine. So I'm not talking about piece by number on the embroidery machine, although we do love that very much. Us embroiderers out there, you know who you are. You guys absolutely love it, right? However, paper piecing on a sewing machine really is a lot of fun, and you can do some amazing, incredible projects. Because the thing with paper piecing is you're able to put together pieces of fabric that you might normally not be able to do through a more traditional pieced method, and that's why paper piecing is so much fun. Deb Hull said, love it. Makes me feel like a superhero quilter. Yes, that is so, so true, Deb. I think that's great. And Gloria said, so far not a fan, but I'm open to your tips. Okay, good, 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 good. I'm glad to hear that, Gloria. Okay, so the one that I'm going to do the little tutorial on today is this paper piece flag. And this pattern comes from Kimberbell. Ooh, there we go. This is Kimberbell's Sew by Number, paper piecing throughout the year. So I just took that one from there. She's got a couple books for it. And obviously this is a very simple one, right? For the tutorial, I wanted to make it as straight, just as easy and straight as possible. So there's not a lot of confusion on this one. The reason why I want to show you this one too is because then you can focus on the steps, and if you just repeat these same steps, you can do any paper piecing project. Some may just take a little bit longer, but that's okay. That's what you're going to do, okay? So we're going to go through the steps of how to do it. Very simple, very easy, and then you'll, hopefully be able to pick up some new tips and tricks through this. All right, so the first thing you have to do is when you get a pattern, you have to make a copy of it onto a piece of paper. Now, I've just used a regular piece of paper because we're actually going to sew through this, but if you're wanting to do a lot of paper piecing, I highly recommend a product like this, Papers for Foundation Piecing, or Carol Doak also has foundation papers. There's 100 sheets in a little package. And the nice thing about buying the foundation piecing papers is that they are a lot thinner than normal copy paper, and you can actually put them into your inkjet printer or even a laser printer. Most printers are going to work just fine with being able to take the book and put these special papers. Again, they're very, very thin, so it's easy to tear, and that's why people love getting the foundation paper piecing paper. All right, you don't have to, but it's definitely a nice to have, especially if you're going to do a whole bunch of them. All right, so there's that. For today's demo, though, I just did it on regular copy paper. So another item that I like to have is a glue stick, and I'll show you why here in just a minute. Now, one reason why people may not like paper piecing is because they say, oh, it's such a waste of fabric. There's so much fabric waste. Well, yes, maybe, sometimes. It depends. It depends on the project. But it also is such a great way to be a stash buster, all right? Because as long as that fabric is going to fit over that area, and within, like, a half an inch is what I kind of like to navigate, you're going to be just fine. And so you can just pull out scraps, right and left from your bins, okay, and be able to use it. Um, let me see. It seemed like there was a question there real quick that I didn't catch. Anyway, so that is, I don't necessarily agree that there's a ton of fabric waste. That is not always the case, and I would never let that deter me from doing paper piecing, because paper piecing, you get so many great points and angles, and it's just so perfect. If you can sew on that straight line, you're going to have perfect points coming out in every which way. So that's my little plug for why paper piecing is not necessarily a fabric waster. All right. So the nice thing, especially if you're going to want to get started into paper piecing, is picking up a book like this from Kimberbell. She's got a couple different sew by numbers. These are small projects, very doable. And when I open this book up, I not only find the patterns right there, and they're all in 3 different sizes, but I can also find my cut measurements. Okay, so on the flag, if I were to go to medium, I could see right here what my fabrics need to be cut to, which is really nice. You don't have to use that. You can just, again, pull from your stash and you trim up later. But it is nice to know that there is a cutting chart in case you want to get started. Okay, as I always say, there's 101 ways to get the same result. Today I'm going to share with you my tried and true method of doing paper piecing, and I hope it helps someone out there. All right. So first of all, you'll notice that the paper is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, and up onto 11. There's 11 parts of this flag, and it's almost like a paint by number. Okay, I like to think of it as a paint by number because I want to make sure that I cover the number 1 area first, then I move on to number 2, then I move on to number 3, then I'm going to go to 4, and now 5, 6, 7. And it tells you the order that you want your pieces to be sewn in. So you'll see that I've got the front and I have the back. All right. Now this is how Kris does it. I like to put my fabric on the back and I sew from the front. Fabric on the back, sew on the front. So this is where my handy little glue stick comes into play, is because I only use the glue stick on the number 1 piece. I'm going to put a little bit of dab of glue here, again, just to hold it in place. And I will hold my paper up to the light so I can see through it. And I'm going to make sure that my number 1 covers the entire number 1 spot of my flag. Okay, so there's my number 1 spot. I'm putting the red piece of fabric covering that entire number 1 spot. And I'm centering it right there. Make sure you center it. And it's going to be bigger than what you need, and that's okay. That's what you want. And I was able to tell where it was by holding it up to the light. I know you can't quite see it where you're at, but by holding it up to the light, I could go, oh, yep, that's the number 1 spot. Now I'm good. Okay, again, that's the only time that I use my glue stick, is on the number 1 spot. The other thing about the number 1 spot is this is where the fabric is facing right side up. Right side up. Everything else after number 1 will go right side down. Okay, so let's bring it over to my cutting area. Okay, and I want to sew on the line between number 1 and 2, but I need to know, where does my number 2 piece go? I need to sew on that line, but where do I put number 2? So this is how you figure it out. I like to use a very fancy tool, my friends, called a business card. piece of cardstock, whatever it might be. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to place that on the line between 1 and 2 and fold back on top of itself. And I'm going to fold that all the way there. You can see my extra piece of fabric that is coming out. Okay, so again, the business card or a piece of cardstock, whatever it might be, goes on that line between numbers 1 and 2 so that I know where that line is, and I fold it back. But now I need to trim this so it's a 1/4 inch past that line. When I do that, that will show me exactly where to line up piece number 2. All right, so I'm going to just flip this around, and I could use a ruler to measure a 1/4 inch, but there's this wonderful little tool that I absolutely love called add a quarter. And what this has, why this is so great, is because it has a lip on it that is at a 1/4 inch. That lip just rests right there on the fold. You can see that I'm sliding it right there, and it just rests right on that fold. Okay, it becomes a barrier. That's a perfect 1/4 inch. And now with my rotary cutter, I will trim that excess away, and I'm left with a 1/4 inch past the fold. Okay, so now I turn it back over, open that up, and you can see that I now know where to put my number 2. So my number 2 is a piece of white. I'm going to place it right side down on top of the red. And now I know where to sew, because I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to sew from the top. You sew from the printed side. That means you have to hold on to this with your fingers, and then you can flip it. If you don't feel comfortable holding onto it with your fingers, you could place a small pin in there as well. Okay, but this is such a small piece, I feel comfortable being able to just hold it, flip it, and now I'm going to sew on that line between 1 and 2. All right, so now I'm going to come over to my machine here, and let's bring the computer over. Today I'm working on the Baby Lock Presto 2. The Baby Lock Presto 2. Love this machine. We have it on sale right now for just $5.99 if you're interested. All right. One of the things that's important when you're doing paper piecing is you want to decrease your stitch length. So I'm going to do that right here very easily. I'm going to take it down to a 1.6. I like to keep between a 1.6 and a 1.8 on my stitch length. Why do we need to decrease our stitch length? Well, it's because it's going to make it easier to pull our paper away after everything's been stitched. By having a shorter stitch length, you reduce the chances of having your stitches pop out. So always remember that is to shorten the stitch length. Again, I like to keep it between a 1.6 and a 1.8. The other thing I like to make sure of is I like to use my my reinforcement button, my reinforcement stitch, instead of a back stitch. Now you could use a back stitch, but I like to use the reinforcement button at the beginning and at the end, because the needle just goes up and down in one place about 3 times. All right, so let's take a look at how that happens. I get lined up. Again, I'm right on the line. I'm going to use my reinforcement stitch, and now I'm ready to stitch on that line. And I'll use the reinforcement stitch one more time, and then I'm going to use my automatic scissors to cut the threads. Okay, there we go. I have stitched between the line of number 1 to 2. Now when I turn it over, you can see that it's ready to flip, and I'm ready to press. Okay, so I've stitched between 1 and 2. I'm ready to press it, so I'll put it down here. And with my little handy dandy iron, I will press. Right there, yep. You can see I am pressing the paper. Now, there's another great tool if you didn't want to use heat. Have you ever used a seam roller? These are pretty nifty. And the seam roller is a heavy wooden piece that you just roll down your seam, and that works out really well as well. If I'm doing paper piecing by an embroidery machine, I actually like to use the Clover, oh my goodness, it just lost me. The fold. Fabric folding pen. Thank you, Barb. Do you have one handy? Okay, I like to use the fabric folding pen if I'm using it by embroidery machine. But if I'm doing by sewing machine, this works out really well, or even just using an iron. Okay, so now I have 2 pieces. So what's my next step? Well, I gotta figure out where the number 3 piece goes. So I want to be able to cut back and see where I'm at. So let's come over here. And I could use my little nifty tool. Whoops, I want to be on this side. There we go. Because I need to see the line. I could use my nifty tool like this and fold it over on top of itself. This is a really great little trick, because a lot of people will you know, they're told to fold over, but sometimes it's hard to figure out where exactly that line is. So by putting a little barrier here, that really helps. Now there's another thing that's really nice with the add a quarter plus ruler. We have add a quarter rulers, and then there's add a quarter plus. And the plus is that you have this little tapered side here on one edge, where I could use that to become my barrier. So I'm just going to pull it on top of itself, and now that has become the barrier. So I could do that. I'm going to flip this around so that, because I'm right-handed, and then I already have the barrier. All I have to do is pull this out and place the new 1/4 inch side on top of there, and I'm going to trim a 1/4 inch away. There we go. You can see that it's a 1/4, let's see, a 1/4 inch beyond the fold. Perfect. Now I know where to line up piece number 3. So I'm going to take my 3rd piece, red piece. Look how cute those polka dots are. And I'm going to place it right side down on top of the white. And then I'm going to hold it with my fingers. If I wanted to, I could put a pin in there, but I feel comfortable enough holding it. And I'm going to flip it over, and again I'm sewing from the top, and I'm sewing on the line between numbers 2 and 3. I tell you guys, this is so much fun. Once you get the hang of what you're doing, it is just the most enjoyable process. And I'm going to cut my threads. And now I have sewn between 2 and 3, just on that line. You can see it right here. I'm going to flip it down and bring it over to my ironing station and press. Okay. Now what I want to do, I've done steps 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. What is going to be next? It's going to be number 4, right? Number 4 is in blue. How do I add the number 4 onto 1, 2, and 3? Well, it's the same process. I'm going to bring this over like that, and I need to figure out where to trim my paper, or my fabric, excuse me. So here we go. I'm going to put the tapered edge of my add a quarter plus ruler right here on the line between 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is the line I want to be paying attention to right now. So I'm just going to fold it on top of itself. There's some excess fabric coming out there. I'll pull this out, flip it around. So now I have my add a quarter right there. Take my rotary cutter and trim. That really is such a critical part, is making sure you have the 1/4 inch beyond it, because now you know exactly where to place your next piece of fabric, right? So I'm going to take my blue piece and I'm going to do just that. I'm going to put it right side on top of where I just folded. Can you see how this is coming together? So right sides together, I've lined that up along the edge that I just cut, and now I'm going to take it over to the machine. Okay, I'll stitch this and then I'll start taking some questions. So if you've got questions, let me know. Whoops. Again, I'm sewing from the top. I don't see the fabric, right? I'm just sewing from the top. I'm doing my reinforcement stitch. Remembering that your stitch is shortened. I get to the end, I'm going to do a reinforcement stitch one more time. I'll cut my threads, lift up my presser foot. You can see I have stitched between those 3 pieces and the number 4 piece. Flip it over and it's like Christmas. Ta-da! Look at that. Doesn't this look like fun? It is so enjoyable. I love it. Love to paper piece. Okay? Sometimes it's fun to give yourself a new skill or a new challenge. I think especially right now. So take a look at that. Do you see how it's coming together? Obviously, I'm taking it so slow, right, with you right now, because I want to make sure everyone understands the process. But if I were doing it at home right now, I would just be able to do this so quickly and have it done within minutes. That next white piece will go on after that. There'll be another red strip after that. Okay, I keep on sewing. Yes, even the little borders are part of that. Look how cute those borders are going to be all the way around. And at the very end, that's where you trim it. Okay, and it has the line to show you just that. All right, so I hope that helped. Let's see, what questions do we have? Kathleen asked, paper piecing is fun. Where is this design available? Right here. This is Kimberbell's Sew It by Number, paper piecing throughout the year. And it's so cute because she has, you know, a snowman for January, a heart for February. March is a kite right here. In fact, I've got the March one right here to show you. So again, especially for those of you who are just thinking, you know what, I want to try something new. This is the perfect kind of project because they're small projects that are so doable. And look how cute with the little ribbon bows hanging off of that kite. Really fun. So you could do this, again, small projects, and have it done that way. She also has another book. This is paper Sew It by Number Volume 2, and there are a whole lot more projects in this one. So she's got a camper, school bus, Easter egg, ice cream cone, which is so cute, the turkey. There's this little cup of hot cocoa in that one. Isn't that fun? Now let me share another fun idea. We sell these little scroll stands as well, and this is part of our deal of the day today, are these stands as well. And we had a customer who, she literally made 11 sets of these for her children, and she had a his his, mine, and ours marriage, right? So you have lots of multiple families when that comes together. So for Christmas one year, she made every single one of them, she gave them a scroll stand for Christmas, and then every month they received a new hanger for their entryway, which I thought was really cute. So what a fun idea that would be. And you know, you can just get it, just quilt it right there on your sewing machine. For those of you who have embroidery machines, everything is quilted in the hoop, and it just is such a fun idea. So again, especially for those of you who are brand new, you don't have to be brand new, but especially this for those who are new to paper piecing, this might be a great way to go, because the projects are so doable. Now, I've also seen where people have taken these blocks and they've made quilts, entire quilts out of this. Suzanne in our Sandy store, she put one for each month, and she did the cutest wall hanging that was 12 months of the year that she has hanging in the hallway in her home. So that's a fun idea that you could do, is turn them into quilt blocks. They don't have to be hung like this, right? You could turn them into quilt blocks and be able to do it that way. I've also seen where someone has taken, they wanted to do a Valentine quilt. They just did the paper pieced hearts. Every block was the paper pieced heart, which is pretty cute too. Now, this is the fabric folding pin that I mentioned earlier, and what this does is in between, again, if I were doing it by sewing machine, I mean, I guess you certainly could use this with it by sewing machine, but I especially like it when I do it on the embroidery machine, because it fits right into the hoop without having to grab an iron and try to put it in the hoop. But this has a little softening agent in it, a solution, that as you, let's see, as you just pull it along that seam line, it just softens those seams. And when you pull it out and press it, do a finger press, it makes it so nice and flat. So that's the Clover fabric folding pin, and I absolutely love that. But there's other options as well. There's seam rollers, you could finger press, you could iron, lots of different things. So one of the questions that comes up quite often is, well, Kris, should I get the add a quarter ruler or should I get the add a quarter plus? You know, it's really up to you. The thing that I love about the add a quarter plus is that it's got two sides to it. It has a tapered side. I know you can't really see it that well, but this actually does come down tapered on one edge, and that gives you the ability to, you know, put it right on the line that you want to fold over, and you press it and give it a nice crease. And so it's nice for that. It also has like a little ruler there as well. And then when you flip it over, it has the lipped edge for you to get that perfect 1/4 inch. So I love that. But if you aren't worried about that, and you want to use just like a business card like I shared, right, and just put it on that line, you could do that. And maybe just a regular add a quarter ruler would be something you would want. So it really doesn't matter. We have all of them, so, and we have them in all different sizes. So it's really up to you. Now, one of my favorite sizes is the small 6-inch one, because it's just so easy to navigate and pull around. But let's say you were doing foundation paper piecing, like a Judy Niemeyer quilt or something. We have them as long as 18 inches. The add a quarter ruler as long as 18 inches. So if you're doing a big project, you know, obviously I'm not going to want to use an 18-inch on something like this. But if I were doing a big project, the 18-inch would definitely be the way to go. We also have 12-inch ones, and we have 12-inch add a quarter plus ones. Okay. We have combos where it has 2 different sizes in there. So there's a lot of different options there for you to be able to use. Okay. What other questions do we have? Okay, Debbie shared, I did 6 sets one year. I did the embroidery ones. I need the second set and book, but not all of them, as I've got some of them. I really enjoyed doing them. Yeah, it really is a great gift idea and something that is so incredibly easy and doable. Definitely. Sherry says those rulers are great, so you must be a fan of the add a quarter rulers, Sherry. I'm a huge fan of them. Absolutely love it. Love them, I should say. What else do we have? Just scrolling through questions real quick. If I don't get to it live, I will go back and answer what I can. Oh, Sandra, you're so sweet. Love watching these while I am locked into my house. Oh, who would have thought, right, my friend? Who would have thought right now this is what we'd be doing? It's kind of crazy to think about. Okay, Gloria. Such great timing. My friend just gifted me that book. Nice. She wanted me to give paper piecing another try. I will bid that I have your video to fall back on. Thanks. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, Gloria. And you know what? Your friend is a very wise person if she thought that giving you this would be a good way for you to enjoy paper piecing again, because they really are so much fun. And doing them for every season makes it even that much more enjoyable. All right. Oh, good, good, good. Linda said, great breakdown and instruction. Have been fearful to try. I think I can do it now. Yay! I'm so happy to hear that. It really is so simple, and you just take it step by step. Take a deep breath. Eat those peanut M&Ms that I love so much, and enjoy the process. It really is a fun process. It uses your brain a little differently than what we're used to, and that's one of the exciting things about it. Is it's nice to have a little bit of a challenge, right? Okay, Ann Bill asked, is this the same as what is called English paper piecing? That's a great question, but the answer is no. It is not the same as English paper piecing. English paper piecing is done by hand, okay? It's all done by hand, and it is, if you were doing, probably the most common English paper pieced product out there are hexagons. Like if you were doing a grandmother's flower garden quilt, that would be English paper piecing, all done by hand. So this is a foundation paper piecing. We do this on paper and we sew on the paper by machine. So great question, Ann Bill. I'm sure there's a lot out there who have the same question. All right. Okay, I didn't read all this, but Kathy, it looks interesting. I have taught paper piecing. I give my students a mantra, teaspoon, TSP, like a teaspoon. It stands for trim, sew, press, which is the steps you follow for paper piecing. I've been known to go to Goodwill and buy teaspoons so I can leave one at each student's place to help them remember. I love that, Kathy. What a great way to think about it. TSP, like a teaspoon, trim, sew, press. Trim, sew, press. Let's think about that. That's a great way to look at it. Okay, if I had this like that and I needed to figure out where my next piece goes, what am I going to do? I'm going to trim it. So that means I need to fold it back on top of itself to see, oops, let me do it, I'm doing it upside down, to see where to trim. See, I'm going to trim. So I trim it. Now I know where to place my next piece of fabric. Then I'm going to sew it, and then I'm going to press it. TSP, trim, sew, press. Trim, sew, press. Thank you, Kathy. Love that tip. Great, great idea. All right. Let's see. Deb Hull shared Cadence Court Quilt is a fun paper piecing pattern. I haven't heard of that one, but I'm going to have to check it out, Deb. I love new ideas for fun projects. All right. Susan shared, show the little rotary cutter. It's so fun for little projects. Oh, yes. I don't have one with me right now, but we have, you know, like little 28mm rotary cutters. Yeah, those are great for being able to do these small projects. I totally agree with you on that. For those of you who had gotten in on that great deal where we did the little 8-inch rotating mat, this would again be another perfect project to be able to do that with. All right. Good. Okay, Debbie shared, thanks, Kathy, great information for people like me who need reminders. So yes, Kathy, thank you so much for the TSB. Trim, sew, press. Deanna shared that she needs to finish her Judy Niemeyer quilt. Oh, my friend, those are a lot of work, but oh, so rewarding when they're done. So rewarding when those are done. They're so gorgeous. It's like a masterpiece. Yay! Okay, good. So all of those were really good questions. Thank you so much, and I hope this helped answer and take away some of the nervousness you might feel when paper piecing. Again, make sure that you decrease your stitch length, so shorten your stitch length to about a 1.6 to a 1.8. I always backstitch or do a reinforcement stitch at the beginning and at the end of each line, so don't forget that. If you can, pre-cut your pieces beforehand, and that will make the whole process go a lot smoother, but you don't have to. You can just pull from your stash, take a look, make sure it's gonna, you know, cover over the entire thing by about a ½ inch, and you'll be good to go. Okay. Yeah, those Judy Niemeyer quilts, if you're going to do a Judy Niemeyer quilt, my friends, you're going to definitely want the 18-inch at a quarter rulers. Just saying. That is a for sure. So, any other questions before I move on to what the deal is? Marilyn shared, I have the Kimberbell holiday book, need to get it out and make some blocks. Absolutely. It really is a lot of fun. And then again, she came out with this new one, which has even more designs. So, and I should also mention, I don't know, let's see, Barb, would you mind grabbing for me like the little ones that we have? There are 3 sizes in the book, just right up there. And the little tiny one makes the cutest little pin cushion you ever did see. So fun. Yeah. Yep. And then also the witch hat one would be perfect. Any of those. So there's 3 different sizes. So you could do like little pin cushions, little paper piece pin cushions, which would be really fun to make. I've seen where people have taken the small ones and made them as Christmas ornaments as well. So if you were to take like the Christmas tree or the snowman, that would be fun. I've seen where people have taken these as well and made them into banners. So for like a mantle, that would be cute. Little pillows. Okay, she just brought over. Look how cute that witch hat is with the little spider hanging down. Isn't that fun? Here's a paper piece pumpkin. And this is a version of the teeny tiny little turkey. How cute is that? So again, this would make such a fun little pin cushion, or whatever else you want it to be. It could be a coaster. It could absolutely be a coaster as well. So lots of fun ideas. These are medium size. This is a small, and then there's one size bigger than that.